to say I wasn't here the last time, so I'm going to reserve my questions till the end.
Yeah, well, I understand that. Okay, well, last time we were working on breathing, okay? And although I have a real fancy title for this meeting, which I don't quite remember, something about changing matter or something, we can simply kind of call it the disappearing game because it's based on the book where in order to unify with things, you must disappear within yourself, within your body. So last week, well, a couple weeks ago, we started off with breathing because Rick wanted to go over breathing, and it was a good idea. Because breathing is the breathing Qigong is what brings us into understanding the body and ultimately recruiting the body to work together. Now, you know how to do this because when you were just an infant and you were nursing, you recruited everything in your body to nurse because you didn't have any accessory muscles, you didn't have any sucking muscles, you didn't have anything. So you had to go, everything had to pull in, everything had to relax. So you drew in with everything, and that process conditioned your muscles. Okay, it tonified you so that you could get the strength to move individually. It's the way it is. That's why we are so weak at first. You know, a lot of children, most children can't raise their head when they're born. Okay, the ones that can and look around, that's trouble.
Yes.
You're in trouble at that point. But most kids just lay there and they get their strength from nursing. So that's the whole body exercise. So when we talk about whole body exercise, we get right back to that point of breath conditions the body. Breath recruits cells. That's what our whole Qigong is about, is moving cells through breath work. Okay, so last week we were talking about rocking, well, I keep saying last week, but you know what I mean. We talked about rocking the pelvis, straightening the spine, and then allowing that straightened spine to pull down on your diaphragm. Let's see if we can do this here. So you want to feel that pelvis extend you. And that's how children, infants, breathe. They lengthen their spine, they straighten their spine, curve their spine. The lengthening pulls down on the diaphragm inside of you, lets the lungs inflate. The curving relaxes that action. Now remember, if we go into the fact of infants, infants don't have back muscles. They don't have stomach muscles that can straighten them up and down. They're actually using the spine as the driving force, the spinal cord. So as we start to think about that, that's how children breathe from infancy. They use their spine itself to move themselves. So that takes a lot of relaxation, a lot of disappearing, because you're going to use every accessory muscle that you have to make your pelvis rock. So that's why I like the sitting up. I learned reverse breathing in my Volkswagen Rabbit bucket seats. Okay? And as odd as that seems, it gives you this action when you're sitting down that you don't get otherwise. Even on the floor, you start to engage. But if you just learn to sit on a horse, if you will, and push yourself up and down, then we're doing it. Now, feel the air coming in, feel it moving out. So what you want to do at this point is you want to also get that energy wave working. And when we talk about the energy wave, we understand that the energy wave is the motion of cells, the movement of cells. And that creates the energy of their own expansion and contraction. So when we were doing the Qigong, the stationary stuff, we were learning how to get that motion out into the fingers, all from the breathing. So Qigong truly is breath work that moves energy. In other words, the energy and the breath are one because breathing creates energy. Now, you don't usually experience that because you're in resistance to it. You're in resistance to it mentally, perceptually, and you're in resistance to it through the tension bases in your tissues. And all of you, though, have learned how not to be in resistance. So this is easy. But if you go back to day one, when you were trying to move your energy wave and you were saying, what the heck is this? Okay, because all of you learned under the lesser programs that we're doing now, than we're doing now. And the programs that we're doing now really incorporate this right from the get-go on how to get the cellular motion. And once you tell people that cellular motion is that buzzing you're feeling, they can do that. So how do you get beyond this point? You let go. It's always going to be disappear, disappear, disappear. Let go, let go, let go. Fall into something. Now, when we move the spine, we feel, of course, as this is lengthening, the shoulder blades and collarbones move with that. Okay, so we should feel some sort of rotation in the humerus that moves your hands. If you don't feel that, you're in resistance. So what do? You disappear so you can feel it. Get out of the way. Feel the hands moving with the rocking. Okay, it's skeletal. It has to happen. Okay, but the tissues get in the way. You should feel your foot pressures changing in the outer part and the inner part of your foot. As the spine curves, you'll feel your foot wanting to turn in. Now, this happens from nothing more than just the length of your nerves. As your spine straightens, it should pull on your feet, okay, because the nerves are being pulled. They're a fixed length. They're not elastic. They are cabling. And that's why people who get twisted spines have a lot of pain, a lot of referred pain. So as this changes, your hands are going to change. So the tissue bases and the nerves going through this are cabled, going right down to your fingers, so they're going to turn your humerus a little bit. Again, it's hard, wired, literally. So these actions are natural, but we resist them. We counteract them. Now, as you get adhesions in all these tissue bases, well, then you're going to feel that resistance. And you say, well, when I breathe that way, it hurts because your nerves can't move. They're literally glued into place. And this is fibromyalgia. So as you move this arm, it hurts because these nerves have to pull through the tissues. But if there's glue joints in here, ow, there we are. That's why John has to do his physical therapy all the time. Okay, is to break down all these pain points so that the nerves can flow through the matrix of the tissues and the cells. That's pain. All right, once again, how do you get rid of that? Well, first you got to burn off that glue joint. Then you have to do this. Now, the beautiful thing about this is we can burn off some of the glue joints from breathing. And this is something that I don't talk about too much. I kind of understate it. That breath work alone can get rid of a lot of the adhesions in your body, especially in your spinal system. Now, we worked a lot with John's son, Hemmerly Jr., on using prayer to take the tension out of his spinal column. And once that tension comes out of the spinal column, it melts off some of those adhesions, that constant vibration, because the vocal cords here are right on the spine. So if you want to do the right frequencies, it's going to melt away adhesions. So if your spine is twisted and is glued into place, you can let it go. Or in the case of the scoliosis thing, is as the neurotension increases in your brain twist, you can let it go, okay, by, in a sense, a sonic massage, lengthening the nerves. And this, of course, will let the pelvis plates fall into place. So you don't unwind everything inside. But this is something that you have to have a good relationship with your tissue bases to begin with in order to achieve, or else you're going to be in resistance to it. Okay? Now, and also, you have to have good interaction here of your voice connecting to the body. So we can, and you all have, through your meditation classes, really sent healing to your body. It only takes a wave of motion at the right frequency, or right intention if you want to make the glue joints disappear. I do this thing that I call meat healing. So I'll take a filet mignon that is this big, put my hands on it, and turn it into something that's this big and this wide. Okay? Just by melting the adhesions in that piece of meat. All it is just energy. And you just feel it softening and changing color. It changes color before your eyes. I was doing that to my pork chops. The other day I forgot to heal the chicken breast. And it was tough. But when you heal it, you can just see spaces. The tissues open up. Very easy to cook, more juicy. Okay? All you have to do is practice it. You get the color change. Now, where do you first hear of this? You hear of this in the Immortal's breath. When old Doc Wong is matching tissue for transplantation. Okay? Think I made that up? No. You can do it. At a certain level, you can literally change the DNA. Okay, certainly I can't do that, but anybody can do it. So Rick, you love to cook. You want to get good with Kim? Buy a bunch of steaks. And take those thick 1-inch steaks and turn them into 1/2-inch steaks.
No steaks, you won't eat it.
Okay, no steaks. Take chicken breast. Those really, and you can feel how hard those are. And just let them melt away down into chicken fillets.
I do want to try that.
Okay, you could do this with all meat because in the process of dying, these things have tensed up, but they also have adhesions just from their daily life. Okay, and the muscles that people are eating are pretty strong muscles that are under a lot of torquing and tension. All right, so you can easily do that and learn how to let go. How do you do this? Again, when you're working on a person, you kind of rely on the energy exchange of each other and the intentions of each other. That person wants to feel good, they let you in and you can do it. But when you're working on a dead piece of meat, which isn't really dead, cells are still active or else they wouldn't be there, you have to disappear into it. It's not helping you. Okay? It doesn't have the total body intelligence, which is good because that's also not interfering. So you have to disappear into it. You have to learn to do that. So how do we disappear would be the question. How do we learn to merge? You can't do it in your head. Okay, because the minute you're in your head, you're not disappeared. You're engaged. Okay, so that's why we go into that heart. All right, so as we breathe, we want to get that, as we move this, again, a mechanical action, we want to get that throat down. Okay, as I do this, it'll be obvious. Once I start to swallow, if you will, and get my esophagus down, you can see this is all coming forward. The shoulder blades are coming together. My head is moving up. So the mere action here mechanically changes that windpipe position. And in doing that, the more, what we were talking about the last time, is the more the esophagus will pull down, the more the heart will move up. And above the heart are the branches of the lungs. And when they make contact, there's an electrical cosmic effect of tissue upon tissue that gives you that release that goes into every cell of your body. Now, we've discussed this before. The heart is the only thing that connects to every cell in your body. And it does this through the arteries. Okay? Every cell, including your bones, is connected to your heart. Or else they would die. So through the arterioles, this all moves, and messaging goes through that connective tissue network through the heart. And that's why we have to be in the heart mind, not the head mind. Okay? Now, also in the Immortal's breath, we talk quite a bit about that heart mind. Okay? So this heart mind, the heart mind, the heart itself, and its own intelligence connects to every single cell. And it can relax every single cell in the body. Nerves don't do this. The connective tissues get obstructed. But these arterioles are always there. And they can communicate. And that's why you can move at speeds that are faster than your nervous system. Okay? Because you have something that is faster than your nervous system that has its own brain within it. Now, every so often I like to go back to this, is I was stunned when I had learned that when they were transplanting hearts, they didn't reconnect any nerves from one heart to your brain. So the donor heart is usually just plopped in there, and you connect the arteries, and then it goes. Because most of the stuff where the nerves are connected is usually too diseased to connect to another nervous system, okay, or too damaged. So they plop the heart in and connect all the arteries. It starts up, and the next day they got you up walking, and your blood is accommodating for the different pressures and blood pressure. This heart, this brain, is accommodating your body. It's adjusting blood pressure, circulation, all based on the needs of your physical body. It calculates all of that without your brain being involved at all. And that should be a clue to you that your brain's not running the show. No matter how much you want to believe that the phantom mind is running the show, it is not. The heart is running the show. And the heart always trumps the brain cells. Why? Simple extortion. You listen to me or you don't get any blood and you die. Okay? There. I guess all hearts are Italian. Little mafias. Now, that heart controls the brain. It controls your thinking because it controls your circulation. It shuts your thinking off. It's the only thing that does. Okay? So the more you learn to mechanically get in touch with your heart, the more you will learn to get together with it. Now, that's part of the disappearing game. But the biggest part of the disappearing, so this is easy for the body. As you breathe, start to get yourself into this position. Try to move your heart. Okay, how will you know your heart is in the right position? Well, there's two major clues. The first is your body disappears. Okay, you don't feel it. You feel it, but it's like a giant focus tent. Okay? The second is that your thinking shifts. And that's a little harder to do because there's a lot of tissue obstruction in the way. And what I call that is you're thinking above your head, above your ears, normally, because you have centralized the phantom up in here, to suddenly thinking below your ears. Your locus of thought is down here. And that's a good focus 12, okay, where you feel expanded. So we can call opening the heart sort of a focus 12 state, kind of a focus 12, 21, and a couple of other things added into it. Because eventually you want to get it so that you feel your locus as a beingness here and no body at all. It's almost like you're a ball of consciousness. Okay, so those would be the three different steps. Okay, the head coming from here and fully into the heart. Excuse me. We have someone else showed up. Kevin! Okay, so try that. Kind of simple. Just get yourself, move your spine. Try to get that. Adjust this so you feel yourself moving up. Remember to feel, you can let your arms hang and feel them move. Feel your feet move. So get all that working for you before you even move the tongue back. Or so then if you swallow that tongue, and let it get lower and lower till your body disappears. And feel the waves of your cells moving. Now eventually you'll be able to not move the spine as much. Actually, you don't need to move the spine very much at all. But you'll feel it all moving from here. So this becomes the locus not only of your thinking, but or consciousness, if you will, or lucidity, however you want to do it, but it also becomes the center of movement. When you start to learn to move from this intelligence, this space, this locus here, again, moving can become faster than the speed of your nervous system. Once you're in this place, we can disappear now beyond the room. Okay, this is that, how do you get into a focus 21 while still being in time-space reality? Well, you can do that. Okay? You can just let go and be into it. If some of you remember when we do the Bagua circle and I say go through physical relaxation, then the letting go of the upper body, and then finally expanding, is take this locus and expand it. And how do you expand it? Well, you just let it disappear. Okay? And that's that magical thing about it, is don't force it. Let it go away. See what the next level is. Somebody got music going? Oh, cool. Okay. Any questions on that so far?
I got a question about practicing on me and trying to achieve the disappearance. Was thinking that I might need a jump starter and listen to something. So would you recommend that I listen to a Focus 12 pacing tape or something?
Try them both. See which one works. I actually can't give you an honest answer on that because I don't know. You could actually try doing your Tai Chi form. Okay, because this is something that we want to integrate first into your movements of peace. Okay, but secondly, you want to get this into your Tai Chi form so that you are floating, disappearing while you're doing it. Again, you're all advanced students, so you've all experienced this, but you sometimes forget to control it, or you sometimes forget that that's the objective. Because so many times you're just doing your form for other reasons, for exercise or for, distraction or for getting your skills right, okay? And forgetting that the ultimate is to bring the other side and this side together, okay? So that's the whole reason from when I was 12 years old is you want that light of death, the other side, and all the different levels that brings into your beingness, into this physical time, and eventually making the physical aspects of yourself disappear, as we talk about in the Immortal's Gift, and alchemically into the immortality. Okay, well, probably none of us have that discipline to do that. But we certainly do have the discipline to get a floaty kind of form experience, okay? Without having the rest of the group, you can still do your form enough where you have to lay against your refrigerator. Wow, that's just so good. And that's what you have to achieve on your own. And you can do that. So if it's a Focus 12 tape is going to help you, well then do that. Experiment. So again, you see, as I'm sure you're all assessing your practice right now, is you're now saying, hey, I'm not doing a lot of this because it's hard to do. I do it, but not a lot of it either. Okay, I have to force myself to get out of my head, get through the ritual just as I taught you, do your relaxation, do your breathing, do your energy wave, change your locus of consciousness, okay, do your exercises while doing that, get rid of the tissue adhesions, okay, now move into your exercise. Look at all those things you have to do. And you're rusty at them. Because we just get into a habit of, okay, I'm going to do my Tai Chi form, and then just about when you're getting it, you got to go do something else. Okay? That sound familiar? Jen, it's great that you have that smile on your faces. Yeah, that sounds familiar. You have that look like, that sounds familiar.
Yes, it sounds familiar.
Right. So I just want to point that out, is you forget what the purpose of this is. It isn't just an exercise. Okay? So there's a lot of things you can be doing without having classes. Okay? Has any of you ever done 10 repetitions of the right side and the left side of the form, of the heaven form? No, I'm talking about in the course of a day, as your practice.
But the thought came to me this week that I should do that, because I could do it pretty much effortlessly and work on the mindset of it instead of.
Right, and there's a good point that you just said there, Mike, is you can do it effortlessly. It doesn't become effortless until you do it. Okay? Until you start practicing to make it effortless. And then suddenly it becomes effortless.
Even in class, we would do 3 of each, 3 times or something like that.
Yeah.
A total of 10 reps, and you can see the difference, feel the difference.
Sure.
Like the whole class, it was kind of shocking the first time we did that just the repetitions themselves are really additive to the whole process.
Right. And that's by design. You keep forgetting, everybody forgets, that this stuff isn't just do it in 10 minutes and you're going to be healthy the rest of your life. No, it's not that way. It's do it for hours. Okay? Do 3 repetitions in the morning. Do 3 repetitions in the evening. Do 3 repetitions at lunchtime. Okay? Now, you have a...
Substitute for lunch.
Huh?
Substituted for lunch.
Substituted for lunch. Okay? I was doing my best work when I was doing 7 principal exercises like 6 times a day. And that's at 30 minutes a group. Okay? Johnson Wax required us to take a break. You know, it's like union break. So even the designers had to go and take a break for 10 minutes. Well, I had a stairwell. I went up to the stairwell and no one did 10 minutes. Everybody did 20 to 30 minutes. And you just go into the stairwell for your morning break, for your afternoon break, for your lunch break, and suddenly you've got 3 stuff, plus you do it before you come in. Once before the night, you put yourself into dreamland. Ritualize.
Also, the 3 series. We did this one morning, we did about 500 of each.
Right.
And that works also to after limit your movement, like John for shoulder.
Right.
When you get to the 3s, you can drop that elbow in, or you can put your hand in your pocket if you have to, and get easy reps.
Right. Okay, does anybody else have any more questions on this? Or anything else that they want to bring up?
Vince, you had mentioned to me talking about movements being you were talking about breath versus movements and how for the real power. And so listening to you, it sounds like you need to get the engine really going to provide the power that you're talking about. And just doing one right side of level 2, heaven form's not going to do it. You really do need to do the multiple forms to get power generation going.
Right.
I think it's more letting go.
Yeah.
You're removing that tension you're trying to adjust out.
Well,
After the repetition, will smooth it out for you.
well, you have,
You're going to watch it get a little tired when it hurts, but with that,
well, you also have to think about it as any physical task, Rick. Okay, is the first few minutes are never good. If you're jogging, if you're walking, okay. So if that's where you stop, then nothing ever really breaks through. But if you take an hour's long walk at the end, you're feeling pretty good. Okay, everything's loose and functional and stuff. Okay, why let it go back to zero? Okay, take that next leap, and a couple hours later, you're not at zero anymore. You know, you might be up at 6 or 7. And then as you work at that other period of time, you start to discover new movement because things are loose. Okay? You know, people who practice any sport get better every time they practice. They start noticing more and more things. And that's the beautiful thing about doing this reasonably slow, and relaxed, is you're not going to really injure yourself as much. So you need to do many repetitions, not just to get the engine working, but to see what's in the way of the engine. Okay? And working out those little details of, hey, you know, this is a lot easier if my elbow's here versus here. A couple degrees suddenly changes the whole structural dynamic. All right, and that's what you get from multiple repetitions. Plus, it starts to make it a pattern in your tissues so that it starts to default to that rather than to the old tones. And it's like Jen and I talk about quite a bit in music, is in order to evolve in music, you have to forget what you already know. Because you default to, oh, this note's supposed to sound this way. And therefore, you don't know what it can truly sound like. But your brain is saying, no, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. No, that bow is wrong. No, this is wrong. Okay, you get wrong messages, and you don't explore. And thus you play like everybody else. And thus you do Tai Chi like everybody else. Okay? Mediocrely. Not getting its full oomph. There's a reason why people of my generation, of Tai Chi generations, aren't doing Tai Chi anymore. Because they're too old. Because they didn't do it right. They ended up hurting their hips and getting arthritis. Okay? And then there's some that, hey, they have a genetic gift for it and they can overcome that. And then there's some that actually, hey man, it's easier now than it was 20 years ago. That's where you want to be. Don't get stuck into the models and the limits of, and the mistakes of your teachers. How can you do something as good as it's supposed to be, not as good as you can do it, not as good as somebody else does it, but as good as it's supposed to be, or can be? That's that Greek theory of perfection, okay? That's different than any other theory of perfection. Is how is the body truly designed to be? I should be able to leap up that wall in one bound, okay? And then they learned how to do that. And we see people doing stuff without trampolines that are mind-blowing because they're not bound by the limits and the models that they see around them, the pathologies. Okay, how do they do it? Exactly this process here. They get into their heart. They overcome their tissue problems. You can watch a person skateboarding, falling down all over the place, and then you see these great skateboarders that float through the air. What is the difference? It's that connection, that communion of their body, and that communion of the body to the skateboard. And that I can do it attitude. That always stands in our way. I'm like this, therefore I can't do that. Okay? Yes, you can.